Let me tell you something. Lukewarm, vague, unclear, uncertain men do not commit. And a lot of times what we try to do is we try to go and feel our way into a relationship. But that's not the way to establish safety. You know, it's like if you got an establishment, you don't look at how a person dresses and, you know, how nice they seem at the front door to know that they're safe to get into your establishment. At least, you know, if you go to like one of these arenas or these football arenas, they got metal detectors. They got ways to proof or to validate a person is safe enough to come in. Now, of course, you can have certain little standards, but you know the best way to know is to pat down. And you don't want to go out here patting down. But I'm saying a lot of times we get hurt because we're putting our heart in a situation based on what looks good, based on what feels good. Instead of saying, how do I know? How have I done the metal detector that this person doesn't have these aspects of somebody who cannot handle what I'm giving them over the long term? And you go off of these fleeting experiences, these fleeting feelings to establish something that's supposed to be lifelong. But there are signs, there are things that a man is going to do, things that a man is going to show you in the very beginning that let you know he here for a good time, not a long time. Uncertain, lukewarm, unclear men do not commit. Now, if you one of them women and you just cool with that, like, hey, I'm not telling you how to live, sis, like, get it how you live. But a lot of y'all are dealing with guys and you feel like you're having all of these problems and they need all of this conflict resolution. And the real problem is this man is a commitment-phobe. You feel like he's pulling away and it's like, I don't understand. It's inexplicable. And it's only inexplicable because you playing one game, he playing a whole different one. And it's not a game at all, but he's on one type of time and you on a different type of time. It's only inexplicable if you're trying to make it make sense in the context of a long-term, healthy relationship that continues to progress. I don't know if y'all ever felt like that. No matter what I say, no matter what I do, I haven't changed anything about me, but it seems like he's changing everything about how he deals with me. No matter what I say, no matter what I do, it's not good enough. We've been doing the exact same thing for the last 5 years. It's not progressing. What's going on? What's going on is there's a completely different program he's on as opposed to the program that you're on. And then what really happens over time is you start feeling like something is wrong with what you're doing. No, something's wrong with the game that you're playing. In a sense, the sport that you're in. If you try to judge a goldfish by its ability to climb a tree, of course it's going to be a failure. But that ain't what a goldfish is supposed to be doing. If you are a long-term, healthy, monogamous relationship woman, that's where your heart is at. You can't get out here in the sport of somebody who's just quick hits, addicted to the honeymoon phase, addicted to the oxytocin rush, thinks that's what a relationship is, or that's the only capacity that he has. Now, we all know the guy that says, well, you know, I'm just not ready for a relationship. Like, that's not really a sign. That's just absolutely him telling you straight up he's not ready for a relationship, and you cannot expect that of him, right? It would be nice if everybody did that. But some people will show you one of the signs. So I'm going to tell you one of the signs, and I don't want you guys to get this confused, because that's why I think a lot of y'all go wrong. You're very smart, you're very, very intelligent, but sometimes you are optimistic to a fault. You're willing to believe a man, especially if your feelings make you want to believe him. One sign that man is a commitment phobe is whenever he's in a rush to get to surface level things, like just sex. He's in a rush to do that. If he's in a rush to get to sex, of course, right? Oh, this is so obvious. No, because now what you got is a lot of guys who will present themselves very attractive. You're very attractive and y'all grown. Y'all can do what y'all want. And he ain't got to think twice about it because he know what he wants. He's safe. You say, be very mindful about guys who have to get to sex, get to anything quickly, because as quickly as they're trying to get in, they're really trying to get out. When you got an investment mentality as opposed to a shopping mentality, you understand I got to take my time with this. Matter of fact, I would say the man who is ready for commitment, he's just as protective over his commitment to himself, over access to himself, that you are to you. Like, he doesn't want to choose a bad apple either. When you got men who are afraid of commitment, they don't have much of an evaluation for who they're dealing with. So what they'll do is they'll claim they just can sense all of these things about you. It's just clear about you. They just a gut feeling that they had about you. Be very mindful about those guys who are not also trying to make sure you're legit. Don't take it as a insult when a man is saying, hey, I need to know that you are safe for me to love. I need to evaluate that this is safe to move forward. I've seen a lot of women, and I'm just calling it how I see it, that will let ego get in the way of the evaluation process. Because you know you're an amazing woman, but also keep it real with yourself, sis. If you just met this man a couple of days ago, a week ago, what truly has already set you apart for that man to know that he wants to have sex with you or take you to Dubai or do all of these amazing things? Nothing. You ain't had enough time to reveal all of those layers of yourself. There hasn't been any consistency or patterns that would definitely show him how set apart you truly are. So if a man is claiming all of this, that, and the other, or from an intuitive place, first off, we ain't got intuition like y'all. God didn't give us that gift. He gave us a gift, but it wasn't that one. So be very mindful about men who are in a rush to get to all of these things and they claim they can accelerate because they could just sense you're just so different and what I'm experiencing with you is just so different. There is a sense of that. There's an aspect of that is authentic, but if you want to be mindful about the hands in which you're allowing to hold your heart, let the patterns prove what that man is telling you on that end. Let your patience be the lie detector test. Because you might be dealing with a commitment phobe that wants to hurry up, get what he gonna get before you realize that relationship ain't going no further than what it's already gone, and he's on to the next. Another sign of a commitment phobe is a man who is extremely attractive, not just physically, but on paper, yet very few or no serious relationships. I know we all have this story of, well, I just haven't found the right one. And they'll claim, oh, no. If he is truly for commitment, just like you, he's going to at some point have taken a risk. And hey, look, it may not be a soulmate out here on every corner, but guess what? There's a lot of people who are viable, meaning it's worth a shot. That's not hard to come by. It's hard to come by the person that's actually right for you. But especially for a man who is attractive, who has his money together, you know he has options. If that man ain't been in more than, if he's 40 years old and he ain't been in more than one serious relationship and it lasted like 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, you mean to tell me in 20 years of adulthood, there's only one woman you ever came across that was worth the shot? Come on, man. Use your sense. You may be saying, well, why is it? Oh, I just know what I want in life, and I just know no woman is worth it. I just know I got to be careful. I just know I got to choose carefully. You see, you have to use your discernment when guys try to imply they're having all this evaluation, all these standards. I know what I want. I just can't settle down with just anybody. But if you truly love, you truly want love, you telling me nobody was worth the shot beyond a couple of months here and there? You 40? He ain't got no serious relationships, ain't never proposed to nobody, never been married. And he's 40. That's not a man who's choosy, a man who's very selective. That's a man who likely sabotages anything that had potential to go to the next level. And a lot of times what happens is, and this is another sign, it's because he's choosing women that are not necessarily, I hate to say, on his level. I talked about this yesterday with women who do this, because this goes vice versa. Gina says, try 53. Toya said he's 60. Exactly. Commitment phobe. You like, oh my gosh, it doesn't make any sense why you're not with anybody. Yet he's so attractive. He's so easy to talk to. He's so likable. That tells you that part, he's got a lot of reps in, connecting with a new person, this, that, and the other. But he has at some point sabotaged everything past that point, because somebody would have been worth a shot. If he was going for women on his level, you mean to tell me ain't no good women out here worth a shot? Now, if he's had 2 or 3 serious relationships and he's 40, 45, 50 years old or up, okay, cool. That man is about commitment, but very selective. Okay. Y'all be getting these dudes who's been lifetime players and bachelors and, well, I'm ready to settle down. Now, I know in my younger years I wasn't. No. You ain't ready to settle down. You might have a thought that you would like to, but you ain't ready to settle down. You see, that's the thing. You get with a dude who's a commitment phobe, it'll feel a lot like love bombing. You're going to get discarded. It's going to be amazing for about a month, maybe 2, 3 if you're lucky. And then it's going to crash down. Because even though he may not come in saying, I know for sure I want to come in and hurt this woman or come in and get this woman's hopes up and then leave her. The fear, again, we talking about a true phobia. There's a such thing as commitment phobia. The true fear is there. So commitment phobes happen to be very embattled, very conflicting. Before they get vulnerable, you get this version of them that's really difficult to deny. Like, something here is very good, but you can't deny the track record. So as time goes on, you realize there's a track record for a reason. Even you can't get over that hump, because this man has been wiring himself to start and stop over and over again from a fearful place. And that's another sign. The start and stop, the sabotage, the pulling away the moment that he gets vulnerable. That's a sign you're dealing with a commitment phobe. Don't think it's something that you're doing. Don't think it's something that he's going through. Say, Laura said he's probably trying to have her as a side family. Could be that as well. Could be that as well. But a lot of times when you get a dude and it's like, man, as soon as things was going good, all of a sudden he pulled away. All of a sudden the text messages, he wants you to chase after him and all. He's a commitment phobe. Another sign, I said I was gonna give y'all 5. I'm probably going like 10 at this point. Another sign is when he got all of these spooky gargoyle stories about a past relationship or growing up with destruction he saw in the home. I'm not saying because that man went through things, and there are men who go through things, that he's a commitment phobe. What I'm saying is, if that's his framework, that's letting you know the source of that fear that he's been operating from. It's not about saying this guy's good and that guy's bad. It's about saying this guy's not aligned for where I'm trying to go in my life, no matter if he's good or bad. You ain't got a heaven or hell to put that man in. That's not what we're concerned with here. And there ain't no point trying to diagnose somebody, right? But if that man is not in alignment with you, for whatever reason, you have to treat it for what it is and move accordingly. You cannot undo his agreement he's come into with that framework he got initially introduced to as a child. Relationships are bad. Divorce. People switch up. You can't undo that. That's bigger than you. It pre-exists you. And the problem is, especially if you're an empath, especially if you don't like starting and stopping, you really want this to work. You 2 months in, you really like this guy. You done told your friends about him. You ready to claim him. You thinking about wedding bells. A lot of y'all will sit there and try to do doctor work, do surgery on his agreement he's coming to. And I stress the agreement part because we've all been through things. Very few of us saw an amazing, perfect relationship growing up. If you did, kudos. Very few people had that, though. Most people have seen some type of dysfunction growing up. Most people have had some type of disappointment in relationships. I know I have. I ain't always been the victim either. You know what I'm saying? We all got some kind of past. Now, what is that person coming to agreement with about their past? They could either come into agreement with, and this is where you want to talk to him. If you're talking to this dude and he just said, yeah, man, relationships are, that's why marriage, you know what I'm saying? That's why I don't even understand when people get married, because if divorce rates is this, I grew up seeing a divorce. I grew up seeing a broken family. That man is telling you what he's coming to agreement with. You can't change that. And all he's doing is vouching for why he's not going to allow y'all to go past a certain point in y'all's relationship. Am I making sense to y'all? Am I making sense? So if a person can acknowledge they had this, like, well, here's the other side. Here's the agreement. I didn't see a perfect household growing up. I saw, destruction. I come from a broken family. Not me personally. I'm just saying, right? So he could speak to that. I had failings in my relationship. I was the problem, or she was the problem, et cetera, et cetera. But that's life. I come into agreement that we all live and learn. I come into agreement with all generational curses don't have to get passed down. It don't matter how you start, it matters how you finish. Once you decide in your mind what you're going to do, everything is going to be a result of that. We're products of our experiences and our agreements, not of our environments. That's a completely different agreement. Gina says, me too, and yeah. So that's the agreement. Again, you're listening to a commitment phobe whenever he continuously focuses on everything negative about long-term relationships, but here he is acting like y'all are already in a long-term relationship. That means he got a cap. He wants to experience certain things of you until it gets to a certain point. Till it gets to a certain point. Another sign that he is a commitment phobe, and this kind of goes into the getting close to you and then pulling away, but it's the hot and cold, keeping things at a certain level. He won't get vulnerable. He won't let it go past a certain level of vulnerability. If you express a certain level of vulnerability, you notice that he kind of clams up a little bit. He won't repeat the same words. Not that he needs to feel exactly how you feel at the exact same time that you feel it all the way through. But if you notice you telling this man, the qualities in you, I just see me being proud if my son could embody that. Like, you going deep with him, right? And you notice he get a little clammy. Commitment-Phobe. That scares him. I'm not here to tell you to try to help him overcome it. I just want you to peep this, because if you force that relationship or stay longer than what you're supposed to, or get in the habit of trying to prove yourself being worthy, sis, it goes downhill from there. All downhill from there. Even if he gives you a relationship, it's going to be like, here, dang, it ain't even going to be a relationship. It's going to be continuously you trying to prove something and overcome something, overcompensate for him. So when you notice hot and cold or whatever, you have a man that has an unhealthy relationship with vulnerability. Now, there are exceptions where a man in this situation has a personal conviction about this. He can acknowledge this and say, I'm actively working against this. I'm not going to let this stop me from progressing our relationship. You deserve that. I deserve that. I want that. That's different. But if this man is unaware of this, you got an uphill battle. I wouldn't advise anybody to try to fight that fight. Because again, it's bigger than you. And honestly, at a certain point, you need a man to know what he wants and want it now and be ready now. You don't need to be trying to train a man, convince a man, encourage a man in this aspect. He's either aligned. There's a certain level of alignment that's got to be automatic. I don't believe soulmates are strictly found. I actually believe soulmates are built. You gotta like, I won't say grind, but you gotta really work the soulmate relationship into existence. You nurture that. Love isn't found. It's nurtured. It's created. It's built. But when you're dealing with somebody, they're gonna basically put all the work on you, is what I'm saying. And you ain't got time for that to a certain point. I don't know how old y'all is watching this. You know, if you're 19, 20 years old, you might be straight with this. Okay, cool. The boy 19, 20, he just fresh out the house. When you get to 35, 40 and up, you know, we ain't got time to be re-raising nobody. We ain't got time to be rehab centers for people that came in broken. And I'm talking about broken to a point they can't even function. We ain't got time for somebody to come in with all of the ways they failed in their last relationships or previous relationships that they want you to fix. We ain't got time for that. Somebody who's not sure what they want. Oh, the money ain't right. All these excuses, negative preconceptions of women, negative preconceptions of relationships, yet they're acting like they're already in a relationship with you to get access to you now before you realize that ain't going nowhere. And here's the thing. Society try to convince you, ladies, I'm speaking to those who are 35, 40 and up. Let's say 40 and up. That your best days are gone. Or, you know, you're less desired. Man, stop believing all that cap. You're actually in a space now, especially if you're dating men who are in your age range or up, to have the shortest amount of time spent wasted on somebody who ain't ready. You're actually in more position now than what you were at 19, 20 years old. Because you have that adulthood, that track record to decode. You got to know how to decode it. And you got to know how to use the compatibility index. Instead of trying to go out here and dating apps and tell a friend to hook you up and going out and just whatever, church or whatever. Like, if you use the compatibility index, you'll be able to both position yourself and vet the men who are on your level now. And that's something I break down in my class. I did it's like 5.5 minutes. It's not even a master class. But master class is like an hour long, hour plus. I break down the compatibility index. That's the number one biggest change as far as the results that you're going to get if you're over the age of 40. It's like a mature, more evolved woman dating strategy that's strictly for those of y'all who are at least 35, but I would say 40 and up. I put the link down here in the comments. If you haven't yet, watch that free video. It's like 5.5 minutes. It's not long at all. But it goes in depth about that change and then how to decode a person's track record. Get their character credit score is what I call it down there in the video. The link is also in the caption. Moral of the story is this, though. Unclear, vague men do not commit. And if you are a woman who has a big heart, you can't just put that anywhere. You can't just disregard the hands that you're going to allow to hold your heart, because if they drop it and break it, being that you have such a big heart, there's so much more of it to put back together. Meaning it takes so much longer. Meaning the deeper you go, the deeper you invested, the longer and more extensive your healing process will be. And again, we ain't got all of these 5-year, 10-year stints to keep on healing and starting over. If that's you, again, you just want to be effective with your dating strategy. Ain't no rush. Ain't no rush, but there is something to be said about intentionality. And if you want to be more intentional, especially if you're over the age of 40, I highly, highly advise you to get the best free advice I have for women who are over the age of 40, specifically for y'all. I put it down here in the comments, also in the caption. But I'm your big bro. You know I got your back. If something I said in this video resonated with you at all, I don't ask for your money. I just ask that you share it, pass it forward to somebody else. Put it on somebody else's timeline so they can get blessed. We need this truth to spread. And again, if you want access to my best free dating advice for women over 40,